So there's two more exam techniques in this kind of, you don't really have to know much category. And this one is short answer and single paragraph. Now these, a professor will just write a single question and ask you to write the answer in a few sentences or a single paragraph. And at this point, what you want to do is read the question carefully again, take your time and read it, and think of some things in your head. And then just write a few sentences and you're done. The problem here, this kind of separates itself from multiple choice because since there's so little to write, you kind of have to get it. Partial credit will be available to you. Don't ever leave anything blank, but just leave a little bit of an answer. Try your best to compose a few sentences on what you think the answer is to the question, and you've done your best. It doesn't take a lot of investment of time. It just takes a little bit of thinking and then writing a few sentences, and you're done, and you can go on to the next question. The other question that I mentioned in this category is single paragraph. A little bit more work, a little bit more investment in time, which is always important in an exam because it is always timed. Single paragraphs are important because they're a little bit harder because you have to write more. But these questions will often be more involved. You can call them heavier questions or tougher questions because they require a paragraph to answer as opposed to a few sentences. So short sentences and single paragraph, how do you attack these? Unfortunately, there is no tactic like there is in multiple choice. The answer is not in front of you here. This leans a lot more to that you kind of got to get it, but you're not in that category yet, because if you don't have a gist of what's going on in the question or what you think the solution is, it's really hard to write a paragraph or a few sentences on the right answer because it's either you get it or you don't, or you kind of do. All you have to do is just to give it your best shot. Oftentimes you'll notice that what you think could be a wrong answer, even though you're right, turns out to be correct. You just doubted yourself, and that's fine. It's a tough question will make you doubt yourself, and that was the whole purpose of it, to make you really think. So with the single paragraph and the short answer questions, try your absolute best. Do not leave them blank. Maybe you'll get partial credit, maybe you'll get no credit, or maybe you'll get full credit. You don't know. So always answer them. Always write, to the best that you can after thinking about it for a little bit. Now the next category is the final category. We started off with you don't have to know much, you kind of got to get it, and now you got to know it pretty well at this point. And these are the ones that will reward those who have studied quite diligently. And this includes fill in the blank, matching, and essay. And with fill in the blank and matching, you may think, why would those be tough? Those are like multiple choice and easy. They're unfortunately not that easy. The tougher of the two being fill in the blank. A lot of times, if you remember back like in grade school, you had like a question, like an answer bank, and then like questions, and you just put the answers in. That's more matching than it is fill in the blank, even though it's kind of both. Those don't really exist anymore. I haven't seen one at all in college. With the few fill in the blank, fill in the blank that I've seen, it's literally just a sentence with a blank in it. No heading, no clue, no topic introduction, it's just there. And with those, you kind of have to know it pretty well, unfortunately. Unfortunate because there is no technique. This is called exam techniques, as you see up here. There is no technique here. You just have to kind of know it. Just read it carefully. Try your best to figure out what word to put in there, or what phrase, or one sentence or clause to put in that space. And that's kind of all the technique we can know. But the best thing to know is that these can be challenging, and you really have to know your material. Again, don't leave it blank because your best guess could be correct or get you partial credit. And the next one's matching. Matching is not that common in college. I've had a few professors do it. This is okay because some people think, well, if I get the majority, I can kind of narrow it down and guess on the end. And that's true. But to get the majority, you would have had to know it first. So this falls in the category of you got to get it pretty darn well, because you have to know it to get the majority on there, answer say 80 to 95% of those questions, get them all right, and then the 5 or so percent that are left, or hopefully a lot less, you can kind of use process of elimination, kind of plug in the solutions into the sentences and figure out which one works. And that's the best technique you can use. It requires you to really get it at that point. If you follow the tips on the previous episode about study techniques, none of this should be a concern. The categories are good for you in the head. When you get confused or you've reached a really tough question, you want to know, where am I? What category does this fall into? How should I be thinking? Am I going to kind of wing it, or does this require me to really think and try to figure something out depending on the difficulty and how much knowledge this type of question requires? And the last one that falls under the you gotta really get it is essay questions. Essay questions to me are quite challenging because one, they wear your wrist out like there's no tomorrow. I mean, you're writing like crazy in a short amount of time, and you don't want to repeat yourself or write things that are not focused on an essay. Say in a science course or in an English course, your essay has to be very concise and well created. That is what any person would want to read, be it your professor, be it another student. Everyone wants to read a good, concise, tight essay. And the way to do this is to prepare ahead of time. When you're being told that your exam will have essay questions on it, it's to some degree beneficial to think ahead and think to yourself, okay, what questions, what topic in this course requires a lot of knowledge, requires a lot of information to show the professor you know. Be it something that's intricate and it has different levels, and the professor will probably ask you to explain them. Or considering a difficult topic, please explain this new scenario. So whatever topic in a course that's very maybe slightly difficult, or rather in length, or a topic you covered in detail, say over several lectures, those are very fair game for an essay because they require you to kind of really play with the material, write a lot about it, produce a few paragraphs, and it really requires you to understand the material quite well. Most essay questions that are really good are not going to be regurgitation. They're going to require you to take something you already understand, say a large topic that took several lectures, and it will ask you, okay, so take this concept and apply it to the following case, or answer this question with your knowledge of this concept. And it'll take you time to flesh out your understanding, your hypothesis in the essay, or an answer to a question. And these will take about a page to write out by hand. Essay questions, if you're at home and thinking about these beforehand, you're kind of getting your brain warmed up. You're kind of thinking and making connections between different topics and possible questions that you can consider. But just thinking about it will put you in a zone where you can kind of think, I know this information. How can I write a lot about it and show what I know and apply it to new cases? So these have been the 3 categories for exam techniques, and we grouped them into you don't have to know much. You kind of got to get it. You kind of got to get it pretty well, and you really have to know it. And just as a reminder, you don't have to know much, but you kind of got to get it was multiple choice. You kind of got to get it was the short answer and the single paragraph, and to know it well was fill in the blank, matching, and the essay. Now, these are the exam techniques that we've discussed. These are the most broad categories of exams that I have encountered in college. I think this actually spans most of the spectrum of different exam types you will have, and now we've tackled the different techniques you can use so that when you go in on exam day, you can perform well, considering that you've studied well, so now you can show it. Continuing this trend, next episode will be on test or exam anxiety. Now, many students will become anxious about an exam. They could have studied for days on end, and they're still worried because they're concerned, well, I've studied a lot, and what if I don't perform well? What if all my studying goes to waste? They may believe, even though they've still learned it. So we're going to discuss different techniques that we can use to deal with test anxiety and how we can handle stress during an exam. Thank you for watching this episode on exam techniques. Please leave any comments below or send a message to my YouTube account. And please remember to rate 5 stars, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.